Yeah, hey Sean, was wondering if you had a injury update on Deion Dawkins, Tyrell Dodson, Gabe Davis, Ty Johnson, and Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, I don't have much, just because we got back so late. The medical guys are still going through it. But I'll have more for you guys on Wednesday.
All right, and when Deion went out, Ryan Vandemark checks in. Obviously, he hasn't spent time in the field much at all, if at all, this season. Fares well on that final drive, and then you see Deion come out and kind of embrace him. What does it mean to you to have help foster kind of a culture that leads to that kind of brotherhood on the field?
Yeah, that's unique and really a joy to watch, Alex. It's whether it's Rasul and Dane and the situation they were going through together, working through together, and then as you mentioned, Dion and Vandy, among others, right? So it's I think that's those are really good threads right there.
And finally, the final timeout in the fourth quarter, called, I believe, with 1 minute and 5 seconds. What led to that decision to take the timeout so early in the fourth?
Give me which one you're talking about. Our final timeout.
Yeah, your final timeout. I'm sorry, in the second quarter, leading up to that uh, throw from Josh that was complete to Ty Johnson, and time ran out. And
So you got
and I apologize. End of the first half, final timeout. End of the first half. You call it with 1 minute 5 seconds,
yeah.
rather than waiting until a little bit later in that half.
Yeah, so the approach there was we were going into a third down situation, wanted to make sure we had the right call, because that was a critical third down to put us potentially in scoring position there. So wanted to make sure we had a good call there, and then felt comfortable pretty much the rest of the way without having a timeout. Would we love to have had a timeout? Yes, but if you don't get that first down converted there, then it's a different story. So wanted to have our best call right there.
All right, sorry for the mix-up. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, sure.
Coach Mookie Harkins, Wellful Sports 1080. Congratulations.
Thanks, Mookie. Appreciate that. That's quite the outfit you're sporting there, man.
But yeah, it's Victory Monday, so I guess I'll be in fit today. But nevertheless, Coach, man, Alex said it, how Vandermark just went out and stepped up. But just talk about the quality depth. I mean, Burfict, Rat, Hardy, uh, Spector was out there like you didn't even miss a half. Who would have thought that? Still probably would have thought Dotson was out there the way that he played in Dane Jackson. That EPU was huge at the right time. So just talk about, the quality depth and how they were able to, make some plays out there for you.
Yeah, that's big. And I mentioned this after the game, Mookie, with those guys being ready to go and taking ownership of that responsibility for themselves, and coaches having them ready to go. And that just goes back to the process during the week of these guys paying attention, even though they're not the primary starter. They know all it takes is one snap, and they're in there, and they're going to be expected to execute. And those guys did a phenomenal job of just that.
Absolutely, Coach. And after the game, everybody in the whole Bills Mafia world caught your interview with Sal, and you definitely did show some emotion, and it's well deserved though. But you experienced a lot this season, Coach. Dual roles as a head coach and defensive coordinator. Team faced a boatload of injuries. You faced coaching change, and obviously it was a personal attack on your career. Yet you still rise above that occasion, put your team in position to win a fourth straight division title, Coach. So how does one's faith really express the gratitude of being in that place?
Yeah, listen, that's what the job requires, right? It's a challenging job, and I'm fortunate that I've got good people around me, and led by my faith in the good Lord above, and I know that He's walking right beside me every step of the way. So, which I need, because it's not an easy undertaking, that's for sure.
Absolutely, Coach. And we got what, William and Mary Bowl Part 4, Part 3. You and Tom on life. Again, this matchup is for all the marbles. What's it going to be like matching up with your former teammate one more time?
Well, I've got the utmost respect for Coach Tomlin, and we go way back, and we've got now three, including myself, William and Mary alums on our staff, and I believe he has two. And then Danny Smith, I believe, is special teams coach, worked there as well. So it runs deep, and we've played each other before. I'm sure we'll play each other again. But just happy for the school, happy for the recognition it's going to get.
Coach, once again, congratulations. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, John Worrell.
Hey, John.
What are the challenges of facing a Mike Tomlin coach team?
Well, they're extremely resilient. I think just he puts a lot on his leadership group. It appears from the outside at least, and he has some veteran players on this team and talented veteran players, and so I think that's really what you see when you watch his teams play over the years.
And how impressive is it? Like he's never had a losing record in the NFL. I mean, do you marvel at that statistic, and what do you make of it?
I do. He's one of the best coaches in the league, and I believe that. And he's been at this for a long time. Won a Super Bowl, and to your point, that he's been able to sustain success over a number of years.
Last thing, maybe we've got it all wrong because we've all focused on the deficiencies of the Bills, turnovers and injuries and everything else. Maybe we've got it all wrong because this team seems to have, not that you want them, but this team seems to have embraced them in some ways and overcome and overcome them. Do you? I'm not sure if there's a question there, but do you get a sense of that?
Well, I think that that we have a resilient group of players and a team overall, and I think it got to a certain point in the year where it's just like, hey, this is what it's going to be. So time to buck up and get the job done. And I think that's really what the guys have done. They've come together and played for one another, and that has formed an identity throughout the last 4 or 5 weeks here.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, my question was kind of along those lines, but we talk at various points of the year about how each team is different. It's a different story each season, presents different adversity and that kind of a thing. Along the lines of the answer you just gave to John there, has this group, is it maybe uniquely, how uniquely qualified is it to head now into the postseason, given what they've overcome and the identity that they have formed, in your opinion?
Yeah, we've gotten here because of those qualities. I think they've had a large or significant hand in us getting to where we are. There's more work to be done, and there's more improvements to be had by our team. So that comes with great responsibility as well as we move forward into the first week of the postseason here, and that focus and that intentionality is what has to come to the surface here as we move forward here. But yeah, I mean, I don't ignore that or overlook that. The way the guys have come together and been resilient through some of the challenges that we've had, I think it says a lot about who they are and how important things are to them.
Yeah, does that just kind of manifest itself as like maybe a confidence that you would have at halftime last night after the first half, the way things went, that the players in your room know they've overcome it before, and maybe that's part of what John meant by embrace, that using that for that situation.
Yes, I would agree. When you're in a situation that you've been in before and you've been able to overcome it, I think that is part of learning how to win, and it's also part of figuring things out and finding a way. And our guys have done that numerous times now. I don't love being able, having to do that. It just seems like it's never easy. But that is such is life in the NFL.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean. Just before the bye week, you talked about wanting to dig deep to find out what was going wrong in some of the end of game scenarios that played you guys, in the middle part of the season. Now having, gotten stops on 3 of the last 5 games in the last 2 minutes, what do you think has been the biggest difference? What did you find in some of your studies at that time?
Well, I believe it's never just one area, but we were able to uncover some things. I think our players were able to build some awareness on maybe what we can do better from an execution standpoint, and then we've been able to work together on having a mindset when we take the field of confidence, but also what needs to get done and how soon it needs to get done in order to give us the best chance to win.
I'm sure it's not easy in a situation like that with the game on the line, but how have you kind of found the sweet spot between being maybe overly aggressive or too soft?
Yeah, that's a tough balance because you don't want to take too much risk, but you also don't want to not be aggressive enough, to your point. So it's hey, listen, if we knew the exact play that they were going to run, then I'd be able to tell you exactly how aggressive we should be. But unfortunately, they don't tell us that. But I've been extremely proud of how the guys have finished these games, in particular over the last month and a half here.
And then this is the fourth year in a row you're entering the playoffs with at least a 4-game win streak. Is there anything applicable from the last 3 years in the playoffs that you can maybe apply here to ensure maybe a deeper playoff run?
Well, continue to take it one game at a time. I think that's big. I think it's we got a good football team coming in here who is very resilient, very well coached. They have a talented roster, and this is going to be a good football game, and we've got to prepare for that. So we've all the respect in the world for them, and they handled us rather easily in the preseason, to be honest with you. So we've got some work to do here.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, you made the decision in the fourth quarter to challenge the Tyreek Hill catch. I was just wondering what you saw on that play in that split second to go ahead with the challenge, and then how beneficial was that, because that set up, the punt and then Hardy's return for the touchdown.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. No, that was a great challenge. I got a couple guys upstairs, and Mark Lubick and Jerry Bergman and Dennis Lock do a great job giving me some information there. And sometimes we get a replay on the video board, other times we don't, and they see it on TV with the TV feed upstairs in the booth. So that was great communication on their part, and we were able to win that one, which ended up being a pivotal moment in the game right there.
And then you had 2 fourth down calls to go for it on the final offensive drive. One that you picked up and one, that didn't convert. But just what was your trust level like in the offense in that moment to pick up in those spots?
Yeah, they're all different, right? Every situation's a little bit different from another, but felt like we wanted to be aggressive there. There's certainly a high-powered offense, and although our defense was playing extremely well in the second half there, not giving up any points, I felt like still that we wanted to be aggressive and trying to end it on offense, and we were 1 for 2 there and came within a whisker of being 2 for 2.
Hey, Sean. I know you went or didn't have major injury updates, but I was curious, when we talked to Rasul after the game, he was saying how he felt he maybe could have gone back in, but then ended up talking to Dane Jackson, and it was ultimately Dane's kind of confidence of like, I'm 100, I can do this, that led to him going in. I was wondering just kind of, when that conversation gets to you, like, are you talking to these guys too? Or like, how did that kind of play out for you with Rasul and Dane specifically?
No, the way that unfolds on the sideline, Catherine, is normally Nate or one of Nate's assistants will come to me and say, hey, this is the status of said player, and they're either going back in, or we're working on them, or they're not going to be able to return. And in a situation with Rasul, it got to a point of he's going to be out for the game. So that conversation that you're referring to that unfolded with Dane and Rasul there, I was not privy to that conversation. My attention was elsewhere at the time.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I was just curious. What did you make? I know you've talked just kind of about guys in general, but Dane, just his season as a whole, what have you seen out of him in kind of this continuous, what we saw last night?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the main proponents that I would say is a great example of continuous improvement, right? He continues to be unselfish. He continues to put the team first. no matter what his role has been or what's asked of him. He keeps a positive mindset regardless, and he's just all about trying to be the best player he can be and the best person, quite frankly, he can be. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for that.
And then just on the punt return touchdown for Deontay Hardy, I know you've talked about kind of his resiliency as well, but what else stood out to you on that play? You know, there were some key blocks, stuff like that. Just when you look at that entire special teams unit, what were kind of your takeaways from that?
Very impressed. I really was. You know, when you look at the blocks on that play, the execution level was very high, and then the way that the players finished the play. And once you get Deontay going, he can do the rest, and as everyone saw. But to me, it was the mindset, the attitude, the urgency, the intensity of each man doing their job to get him started there.
Thanks.
Sure.
Coach, this is Pat Freeman from the Buffalo Criterion. How you doing today?
I'm well, Pat. How are you?
I'm great. It's my birthday, so.
All right, man. Happy birthday.
Hey, I wanted to congratulate you on the game yesterday and also ask you, during the course of a long season, and you've gone to 17 games now, how has that affected your coaching during the course of that season, especially during your tenure here? Because these guys are now susceptible to a lot more injury and a lot more game time.
Well, it's an interesting question, Pat. I think more than anything, we're called as coaches now with this duration of 17 games each season to really dive into the science of making sure we're doing right by their bodies and their minds and their spirits and first and foremost their safety, right? So it's to me incumbent upon us that we do everything we can to do the research we need to put them in the best position possible to stay safe, A, and then also B, perform at the highest level possible each week.
And coming into this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, are you anticipating any other players coming back from injury? Is Jordan Phillips going to be available at all?
I don't know that right now. Again, I'll get an update from Nate here soon and hopefully have more information for you on Wednesday.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good week.
All right. Thanks. You too, and happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Sean. I was curious, what went into the decision to have Vaughn active yesterday, and why did you feel comfortable having him up over Kingsley?
Yeah, again, just similar to the week before, felt like he gave us the best chance to win, and thought he had approached the week, with a very urgent mindset and approach, and I saw some of that show up in the game. We had limited rush opportunities, but overall, I thought he showed some flashes there.
Was there anything specific you saw from him during the week that made you, the urgency you referenced, that made you feel like, okay, good to have him up again, or just kind of everything he did?
Just everything he did. It starts with his mindset, and like it does for most of us, and I thought that was in a good spot, and he was attacking the week with energy and urgency, like I said.
And then having Leonard up over Latavius, just how did you feel about his role yesterday and what he brought in, especially in third and short situations and that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, both good players. We need both of them. And Tay was a true pro in how he handled it, very unselfish in his approach, and that is very much appreciated. Because I think those are the unselfishness of a team is sometimes linked to how successful a team may become, and I think that's important there. And then I thought Lenny did some good things. He was in there in some of the drop back passing game as well from a protection standpoint, and so he's always learning. We're always learning and trying to improve.
Thanks.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Coach Sean McDermott, George Radney, Challenger Community News. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, George. How are you?
Good, good. Hope all is well with yourself as well.
Thank you. It is.
My first question is, how big of play was that where Dane Jackson actually took the penalty where it looks like Tariq Hill was going to beat him on a slant pattern, and he ended up getting called for a penalty on it, and then the very next play you had the interception by Taylor Rapp on the very next play. How big a play was that penalty by Dane Jackson as it turned out?
Yeah, I believe it was 2 plays later, but you're right. That was a situation where we didn't do a great job communicating. We were a little bit out of line there with our alignment and technique, and not Dane's fault. It's more than anything communication coming from the sideline from me into the guys and getting the call. So things were going a little bit fast there, and so obviously that got called, and don't want it called, but it's better than getting beat, for a touchdown.
Exactly.
So, smart play by Dane.
Yeah, whenever there's a chance to take what you would call a good penalty, that seems surely the case. And my last question for you, it seems like Josh Allen seems to be really hyped up for every game, every week it seems to be. And it seems like once he gets hit a couple of times, he seems to settle down and then gets into a groove. Is there any way maybe to help him with getting him to be a little more relaxed once that when the game first starts, especially in that first quarter of games?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just hit him in the locker room a couple of times and get him lathered up a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or some. I was thinking maybe some yoga or something to relax him a little bit.
Yeah, you send your ideas in, and we'll try everything, right, to get him settled down there, though. But he's a heck of a competitor, and I think everyone saw that last night, in particular in the back half of that game.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for your time and good luck this coming weekend, Coach.
All right, thank you, George. Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. I just wanted to go back towards the end of the game. You did an interview, I think, with Sal on the radio after the game, and he had you turn to Bills Mafia up in the stands, and it kind of sounded like in that moment, maybe, a little emotions were getting to you. I was just asking if you could take us through kind of what went into that, why maybe you got caught up in your emotions a little bit, and just, having them in that away game atmosphere and why that was so significant in that moment.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I was not emotional. No, I mean, listen, it was a great win for our organization, great win for our fans, both those that were there and those that weren't. But to turn around, I mean, you don't, as a coach, you're so in the moment. We're fighting, every play to try and get the result we're looking for, and then you don't realize the amount of people that are there to support our team and support you. And I mean, I think it's just to me symbolizes how special Bills Mafia is, and the lengths that they go to support their team that they're so passionate about. And this place is unique because of that.
From the moment you got here and, breaking the drought to, what you guys have accomplished with 4 AFC East titles now, the shift the organization has made with that, does the way that, the players have responded to this fan base and everything like that, does that ever get old? Kind of think I know the answer to that one, but
no way. No way. I mean, this is, like I said, as passionate of a fan base as I've ever been around, and to me, that really exists in the NFL. And I think it's really special when you have an owner that is from the area. Kim being the same, and there's just a genuine connection, right? That it starts from the top down, and the people that work in our building, true Buffalonians, many of whom are born and raised here and have stayed here. And it's just, it doesn't happen that way everywhere. Right. And I think that when you have that, it just runs deep, and the emotions run deep, and the passion for the team. Listen, it's no different than for the Sabres. Right. And I think that's part of what makes it so special.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, I know when you guys set out and make those goals in the beginning of the season, one of the goals is hosting home playoff games, and you get to do that here on Sunday afternoon. You guys are 4-1 at home in the playoffs since 2018. So why is playing at home so important in the postseason?
Well, our fan base, Maddie, I think that's number one, right? Playing in Western New York, Who knows what the weather will be like? We'll see how it turns out this Sunday at 1. But to play in front of our fans, it's tough to play here. Excuse me, and going on the road, it's tough. I can tell you in the playoffs, it's when you're trying to run a play on offense and you can't hear, you can't communicate and get everybody on the same page. That's a daunting task right there on the road. So it's nice to have that at home. That said, we've got to make sure that we execute and we are ready to go in terms of our level of play this weekend.
I know you spoke about Terry and Kim a little bit in that last answer there, but 4 straight AFC East titles, a lot of it wouldn't happen without them being at the helm and being at the top of all of this. So what can you say about just how important they are to this team and this place?
Well, it all starts with them and what they've gone through and how they've handled it. To me, again, says a lot about Western New York. It says a lot about the Bills organization in terms of just the tight-knit community that we have here in Western New York and inside the Bills building here. So it's really built on love and I just can't be more, I couldn't be more honored to work here, whether I was a head coach or any other role here. It's just, to me, it's a great honor to work here in an organization that cares so much about their people.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
That's all the questions for today. Thanks, Coach.
Right. Thanks, Kaylee.
Hey, Joe, we can go ahead and get started with questions if you're ready.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Everybody, please raise your hand if you have a question.